On this channel, we've seen a ton of people with extreme body modifications, tattoos from head to toe, spikes on their heads, and even some with inked eyeballs. And so we're back today looking at 6 people who took their tattoos and body modifications too far. Number 6. Calica's Skull. This individual has had an extreme love for skeletons ever since he was a little kid. So much so that now in his later years, his entire goal is to transform himself to look like a living skull. Calica, whose first name is Eric, began with getting tattoos on his body. From there, the ink crept onto his face, with the most noticeable ones being around his eyes and nose, completely blacked out, similar to how a skull would look. Oh, and let's not forget the skeleton tattoos around his mouth. Now, things only got more extreme when he tattooed his eyeballs jet black and split his tongue in half. However, in order to complete that skeleton look, he had to do something really wild. Cause you see, skeletons don't have ears, so he figured neither should he. But they also don't have a nose either, and I know you already guessed it, he ended up removing that as well. This makes Calica the first person ever in Colombia to get rid of his ears and nose permanently. And though he gets a ton of flack for removing his nose, he claims he didn't do it to spite his face. Apparently, this modification holds a significant meaning for him. Number 5. Cain Mortis. Cain has spent almost 2 decades trying to transform himself into the spitting image of the devil. And in 2014, he was dubbed the 3rd most modified person in all of Latin America. This sort of change to his body was a way for him to get away from the conventional look. He thinks the devil is the most beautiful and perfect angel ever created. And so he tattooed his body from head to toe, got a ton of piercings, fully blacked out the portion around his eyes, and inked his eyeballs black to look more sinister. But it didn't stop there, because in order to enhance his appearance even more, Cain modified his nose to point more downwards, while reshaping his ears in order to make them look sharper. However, his most noticeable modifications are his subdermal implants. He has a bunch of massive ones on his forehead to resemble devil horns, and a few on his cheeks and arms. Now, ever since this extreme change, his Catholic family has fully disowned him, and he's moved from Colombia to Mexico, where people are a bit more tolerant of his looks. Number 4. Zombie Punk. Zombie Punk has spent over $11,000 modifying himself to look more like a zombie. He has a huge colorful mohawk that makes him stand out, a bunch of piercings on his face, 3/4 of his body tattooed, a split tongue, which he says was the most painful modification he's had done, and his favorite one, the skeleton-like tattoos around his mouth, nose, and one of his eyes. Now, to complete that zombie look, he's gone and tattooed one of his eyeballs jet black. This sort of appearance gets him a ton of attention, which he says he loves. In fact, it's actually turned him into a local celebrity, cause in Camden Town, UK, people from all over come by just to see him. And in case you're wondering what he does for work, well, he walks around all day holding up a sign, charging people $1 for a picture. Hey, say what you want, but I respect that hustle. Number 3. Renato da Santa. This Brazilian rapper slash tattoo artist has 65% of his body covered in ink, including the majority of his face. Renato likes looking like a demon, so after he got his first tattoo at the age of 18, he spent over 12,000 euros to enhance his looks further. He has silicone implants in his forehead and arms, a split tongue, expansion of his ears, the tattooing of his eyeballs, and transdermal implants on top of his head. But one of the more extreme things he's done was reshape his ears to look like bat wings. And if you thought that was something, well, there's more. Renato also had the side of his mouth peeled, similar to the Joker. However, this one was inspired by the Japanese legend of Kuchisake Onna, who had a slit on her mouth from ear to ear. He says his look isn't meant to be scary at all, and according to him, some women actually like it. They have this sort of thing for this kind of appearance. Number 2. Wilson Santos, aka Dark Virus. Wilson's journey began at the age of 16 when he got his mother's name tattooed on him and had his first piercing. From there, the piercings spread all over his face, with the holes in his nose and bottom lip expanding. His earlobes, on the other hand, stretch out to reach 55mm. His body was then 70% covered in tattoos, and at the age of 25, he decided to take things to the next level by going more extreme with his modifications. Wilson started adding subdermal implants in his head, tattooed his eyeballs black, and split his tongue, saying these enhancements were the best thing to happen to him because he's been able to further his career and is recognized widely in the tattoo and body modification scene in Brazil. His future plans, however, get a little bit more tense. He says he wants to add 3 transdermal implants onto his head and tattoo his tongue black. Wilson then wants to up the stakes by adding implants to his private, and to add on to that, for some reason, he wants to get rid of one of his fingers. Number 1. Fernando Franco de Oliveira. Listen, I know what you're thinking. He's probably giving you flashbacks of the Black Alien Project or Diablo Prado, but I can assure you, this is someone completely different. Fernando began his journey in 2006 by tattooing the majority of his body from head to toe. Everything from the neck down is inked in color, while his entire face and head is completely blacked out. As he started spiraling further and deeper into the body modification rabbit hole, he ended up stretching out his earlobes, then went ahead and tattooed his eyeballs black. Fernando also added subdermal implants in his head, similar to having horns, and replaced his teeth with sharp metal dentures. Now, remember how I said earlier he expanded his earlobes? Well, he later removed and reshaped portions of it in order to resemble an orc. And not only that, but he also split his tongue in half. However, none of this was enough for him, as he completely removed his nose. I have a feeling a lot of people in the comment sections are gonna say this guy's never gonna get a job again. But that's actually not the case. And that's because he pretty much owns his own tattoo studio. Not to mention, Fernando is the main attraction in his own shop. Kinda like a celebrity, as people from all over will come by to either get tattooed by him or just to take some pictures and chat. Now I'm gonna be making a separate in-depth video on Fernando, so make sure to subscribe with the bell notifications on so you don't miss that. Anyways, smash that like button, let me know who you think took their modification the furthest. With that being said, I'll see you guys next Saturday.